Hi, my name is Maggie, and I am a beloved child of God, and so are you. Have you ever heard of a loaded question? A loaded question is a question that you can't really answer because it's making an assumption that something is true. So if I came up to you and I said, "Have you stopped cheating on tests?" Well, you can't really answer that, can you? Because if you said yes, then I could say, "Aha, so you've been cheating on tests." Or if you said no, then that means you're still cheating on tests. So there's no way to answer that question. You're kind of trapped. There's not a good answer. That's the wrong question, isn't it? Today we're talking about a man asking the wrong question, and he asks it of Jesus. Jesus is teaching, and he goes up to him and he says, "Teacher, how can I get into heaven? What do I have to do to get into heaven?" And Jesus says, "Well, you know all the commandments." And he lists the commandments. And the man says, "Oh, I've been doing those since I was a child. I know all of those." So Jesus stops. And I love this sentence. Jesus, looking at him, loved him and said, "You lack one thing. Go, sell what you own and give the money to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come, follow me." When he heard this, he was shocked and went away grieving, for he had many possessions. It was really hard for him to hear. He was a rich man. And a lot of times we use this conversation and say, "Oh, Jesus says people shouldn't have money because he told this man to go sell everything he owned and give it to the poor, and that's the way to get into heaven." But Jesus then says, he turns to his disciples and said, "A wealthy person can't get into heaven." So we're like, aha, a wealthy person can't get into heaven. And the disciples are shocked when Jesus turns around and he says, "For mortals, it's impossible, but not for God. For God, all things are possible." And then Peter says, "We gave up everything to follow you, Jesus." Very much like, "But we're going to heaven, right?" And Jesus says, everybody who gives up everything between that they have, who gives up to follow me, will surely go to heaven. So we've said, we use this to say, you guys, you shouldn't be rich, you shouldn't have money, you should give it all up so that you can go to heaven. But what Jesus means when he looks at this man with love is that this man has something in between him and God. Because what does the man do? He comes up to Jesus and says, "How do I get to heaven? What do I have to do to get into heaven?" That's the wrong question. He went to Jesus and said, "What do I have to do to get into heaven?" It sounds like the man doesn't know that he is unconditionally loved by a God who wants him to feel his love and to love him in return. It sounds like the man doesn't realize what Jesus has been teaching to everybody, to love everyone and to treat everyone with dignity and love. It sounds like he just wants to know, what's the task? What's the thing that I can check off the to-do list so that I can get into heaven? And Jesus looks at him and he realizes, oh, you've got all of these things because you said I need this and I need this and I need this. And now the next thing I need, make sure I get into heaven. And Jesus loves him. And he also asks this man to give up all the things that he's gathered because those things are standing between him and God. If the man was rich and was completely willing to give it all away and really just wanted to give his heart to God, I don't think Jesus would have asked him to go and sell everything. But because he couldn't get rid of everything, the man was stumbling over himself. And Jesus says that it'd be easier for a camel to get through the eye of a needle. And just love that visionary. I have a needle here. It's a giant needle, big old yarn needle. And I have a little toy pig. And look at that. It's a teeny tiny pig. It is not a full-size camel. And this is a giant needle. There's still no way I'm going to get that through there. No way at all. And I could sit here and try, and I could force it, and I could try. And once again, I'd be focusing on the wrong thing. I'd be trying to fit this toy pig through the eye of that needle. Well, that's silly. That's me sitting there and focusing and wanting to control and wanting to do something and wanting to make something happen when I don't have to do that. It's an exercise in just silliness, isn't it? Jesus wants us to come close to him, to want to be close to him. And it's so hard sometimes. I tell you what, y'all, every day I know there are things that I put in between me and God every day, throughout the day. And I was about to say a lot of times. I'm going to say sometimes I see it, but probably most of the time I don't. And they're not always bad things. It's easy to look at somebody who has a lot of money and say, oh, you shouldn't have a lot of money because you put that between you and God. But what about my family? I love my family dearly. I love being a mom dearly. And sometimes I put that between me and God. Sometimes I put my friendships between me and God. Sometimes I put me wanting to have a really clean, comfortable house and have nice things and to have a lovely, happy life in between me and God, because I'm trying to control it. I think that I can make these things happen and everybody just needs to get out of my way, including God. And that's impossible. That's me asking the wrong questions. Me saying, how can I make this happen? How can I do this? What do I have to do to have all of the beauty and the love and the peacefulness and the joy that I desire? What do I have to do to get those things done? And I think Jesus looks at me and with love says, you're asking the wrong questions, Maggie, because he loves us very much. He loves you no matter what you say, what you think, or what you do. God will always love you. And I love you too. And I hope that you have a great week. Take care.